Hey, good morning, East Texas. Thank you so much for joining us on the CBS 19 Plus stream. We're going to give you a look at the week ahead, plus we'll talk some updates on the tropics. But let's talk about what's happening right now. If you're stepping out the door, temperatures are hovering somewhere in the low to mid 80s. 84 in Tyler at the moment, 83 if you're in Canton, and 84 in Lufkin. But you know what? The heat is on. We'll make it all the way into the 90s just after lunch today. We're still in the 80s if you're heading out around noon to eat lunch on the patio. But if you do account for all of the humidity in our air, and trust me, it is humid. If you have longer hair, I'm sure that you were feeling some of that frizz. It's going to be warm. It'll feel somewhere in the 90s. You know what? We will be in the 90s themselves starting around 1 p.m. and we'll continue to warm from there. Here's a look at our high temperatures for the afternoon. We'll make it up to about 94 degrees in Tyler and in Longview. 93 if you're in Jacksonville. You take a look down to Deep East Texas. That's where we're seeing 94 in Nacogdoches and in Lufkin. But when you account for the humidity, of course, it will feel a bit warmer. This afternoon will feel generally in the triple digits. If not in the triple digits for your feels like forecast, will be very, very close. It'll feel at 99 in Canton, 98 in Athens, and then a 101 for your feels like here in the Rose City. Same in Longview. So make sure that you are staying hydrated and of course taking frequent breaks from the heat when you need it, because it is going to be a sizzling summertime afternoon. Tonight, some relief is in the forecast. We drop down to the low to mid 70s, 71 in Nacogdoches, 72 in Gilmer. It's a 71 if you're in Canton. A few passing clouds will come through, but overall a very mild night ahead. The reason why we're going to get a mild night is all due to a little cold front, which is going to sweep in and kind of get stuck across the I-20 corridor over the next several days. Here's what's happening with a zoomed in view. As that cold front comes in, that's going to throw a few clouds into our forecast. The potential for a splash of rain here and there, but we are set to stay mostly dry. Now that's going to come through before most of us wake up, so before sunrise tomorrow morning. By the afternoon, we could see a few isolated pockets of rain, but really nothing widespread. In fact, a lot of us won't even see showers tomorrow. We are tracking about a 30% chance of rain though, so not a bad idea to have your umbrella ready just in case you need it. Now it's almost going to be a rinse and repeat of that on Wednesday, just to kind of throw out those early morning showers. By the afternoon, we could see some isolated pockets of rain coming through. Again, nothing widespread, but if you do get caught in one of these little downpours, just be prepared in case you need that rain gear, your rain jacket, your umbrella. You may need to move inside just briefly as those little downpours pass you by. Otherwise, low-end rain chances, only between a 20 to 30% chance of rain over the next 3 days. After that, dry weather returns to the Piney Woods. Now, we aren't really tracking that much in terms of rainfall totals either. A few of us may see up to 1/4 inch of rain over the next 7 days. But again, it's going to be very, very light and hit and miss. We like to call these splash and dash showers here at CBS 19. A lot of that, though, is going to kind of miss us here in East Texas. And the reason for that is high pressure. Now that high pressure is going to really crank up the heat over the next several days. So we're looking at the mid 90s today and tomorrow. Really though, Thursday is the day that I have my eye on. That's when temperatures are spiking up to about 96. That's going to put us between 3 to 4 degrees above the average. It's going to be a very warm beginning to July. Now, of course, over July, the Climate Prediction Center is saying that we'll have about average temperatures. They're not expecting major heat waves or anything that is crazy cool across the area. But if you look off to West Texas and into parts of the Panhandle, that's where they are expecting a warmer than average month for the month of July. Now, here in East Texas, average temperatures and about average precipitation, so about average rainfall there for the majority of us. However, if you look and you see a little bit of this green polygon, it's coming through and clipping parts of Sabine and St. Augustine counties. That's going to give us just a slightly wetter month than average, but again, only slightly. Where we'll see a bit more rainfall is kind of off to the east past the Mississippi River into parts of Mississippi, and then even off to the east from there. Here in East Texas, about average, but we will feel the heat. Remember, July is one of our warmest months, and we are already going to feel some of that heat due to this area of high pressure that is stuck over East Texas and really cranking the heat today. But we have it's going to build across the area, and that's going to make things even warmer as we head into the end of the work week. And of course, as we make it to the 4th of July, we're looking at a warm and steamy holiday there. So it's going to be hot, humid, and it's going to be hazy. Here's a look at the Saharan dust layer. So we have some gusty winds in Africa, out in the Sahara, and that's going to blow up this layer of dust that gets lofted and thrown across the Atlantic Ocean. And some of that is set to make it to parts of East Texas. We should start to see that sometime later in the afternoon today, if not in the evening, and that's set to continue all the way through Friday. You can see that plume billowing from the Gulf Coast all the way into parts of the Midwest. Now, what that is, that's going to be fine particles that are lofted high in the air. That really serves to suppress tropical storm and hurricane activity. That's why we're not necessarily worried about anything in our portion of the Gulf here over the next several days. Locally, we could see our air quality go down ever so slightly. You won't really notice it unless you have a respiratory disease like asthma, COPD, or bronchitis. So just be prepared if you may need to limit your time outside if that does impact you. But most of East Texas will be okay to be outside. Now, you may see some very vivid sunrises and sunsets. Thanks to all of this dust, it likes to scatter the light and create very bright colors as the sun crosses the horizon. So just be on the lookout for that. All right, now all of that is serving to kind of keep things quiet across the Atlantic. However, we are tracking an area that we're just going to keep a close eye on. It's this highlighted region right across Florida, parts of the Eastern Gulf, and then even into parts of the Atlantic. About a 20% chance that we see this develop into something over the next week. Now, according to the National Hurricane Center, there is a 48-hour period, the next 48 hours, that we're not necessarily worried about that development, but we'll keep a close eye on it. We have a bit of a cold front that's going to swing through and potentially form into some sort of low pressure system, which could develop into some sort of spinning tropical system. But we will continue to keep a close eye on this and keep you updated here at CBS 19. Now, if you remember, over the weekend we had Tropical Storm Barry form. That one made it up to about tropical storm levels, or tropical storm status, and then it moved inland into the eastern coast of Mexico. And it really lost steam because it's not being able to feed off of the warm waters of the Gulf. As it moves inland, it is still going to bring rain to parts of eastern Mexico, potentially parts of South Texas, but we're not necessarily worried about that big flooding hurricane-esque rain that we have seen in some of these previous systems over the years. It is beginning to weaken rather rapidly. Winds are at about 30 miles per hour for the remnant low of what was Tropical Storm Barry. For it to be a tropical storm, that has to be closer to 39 miles per hour or even higher to reach hurricane status. Again, that is going to continue to weaken as it moves inland. We'll continue to keep you updated, though, on the tropics if anything else were to happen. Now, locally, we are not expecting any impacts from either of these systems if that one near Florida does decide to form. Instead, we are tracking heat and humidity. Temperatures will make it all the way into the mid-90s this afternoon. We are going to keep it hot through the end of the work week. We're up to 95 on Wednesday, and we're stair-stepping our way up to about 96 Thursday. Right now, that looks like our warmest day of the week. Well, looking ahead to 4th of July weekend, it'll be a warm holiday. Independence Day right now, we're looking at a high about 95 degrees. It may cool off a little bit over the weekend on Saturday and on Sunday, but still highs are in the 90s. Lows are only in the mid-70s there, so a little bit above average. Nothing terribly significant with those low temperatures, but again, it is going to be on the warmer side. And because we just have so much heat back to back to back, this could increase your risk of heat-related illness because we're not getting a break from it. So just make sure that you are drinking plenty of water and, of course, taking care of yourself, especially if you're heading out for any 4th of July activities. Here's a look at your 4th of July preliminary forecast. If you're heading out earlier around 9, it's not going to be too bad. We're still looking at the upper 70s, potentially a few low 80s in some areas. It's going to be hot by noon. So if you're heading to any midday cookouts or to any barbecues, It'll be in the 90s. Just be prepared. Make sure that you are staying inside as much as possible or taking breaks from the heat when you need it, especially if you are outside grilling. Around 5 p.m., we'll hit our high temperatures of the day, about 95 for that 4th of July forecast. Things begin to cool down, but it still will be a bit toasty if you're heading out closer to 8, maybe 9 for some fireworks. There will be humidity, so just be prepared for that and make sure that you're staying hydrated. Other than that, things cool off over the weekend. We're into the mid-90s on Saturday, but we warm right back up on Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us for this CBS 19 Plus live stream. We hope you have a phenomenal Monday and that you have a great week ahead.